So, what did George Lucas himself think of the expanded universe and canon? Well, let's take a look using his own words. Well, welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you with another video. Before we get started, as always, if you'd like to support this channel for as little as $2 a month, you can support this channel, and all that support goes back into making the junk videos better. What do you get at Patreon? Well, you get exclusive content, blogs, sometimes videos early when I don't get lazy, longer edits, outtakes, me doing commentaries over my own videos, and a lot more. So check it out, patreon.com. The link will be at the top and in the description below. And any money raised there will go back into making the Junk Room better. And as always, head over to thatjunkman.com. Buy some cool t-shirts like this one. Isn't that a cool t-shirt? Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Whew, I hate to bring this one up because this one usually gets some of the fans outraged when you start talking about it. But we're going to talk about Canon, or the expanded universe. As you all know, when Disney took over Star Wars, they destroyed the canon, as some would say, and moved any of the books and novels, anything besides the Clone Wars, over into Legend series. But it got me thinking, what did George Lucas himself think of the novels and the books and the games and the TV shows, the holiday special? Was that all canon in the eyes of George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars himself? Or maybe canon's in different levels. Maybe there's book canon, TV canon, and so forth. So I started doing a little research to see what George Lucas himself said about canon. And now, let's take a listen to George Lucas himself, or me doing a very bad impression of George Lucas, telling you what he thought of canon. But first, let's go back to the year 2008, when George Lucas was asked what he thought of someone taking on Star Wars after his death, whether it be more of the saga or some spin-off films. This is what Lucas had to say about that.
I have left pretty explicit instructions for there to be no more further feature films. Well, there definitely will be no episode 7, 8, or 9. That's because there isn't any story. I mean, I never thought of anything. And now there have been novels about the events after episode 6, which isn't at all what I would have done. The story of Star Wars is really the tragedy of Darth Vader. That's the story. Once Vader dies, he doesn't come back to life, the Emperor doesn't get cloned, and Luke Skywalker doesn't get married.
In Star Wars Insider from 1999, during the release of The Phantom Menace, George Lucas again brought up his thoughts on canon and the expanded universe.
Part of the job of the director is to sort of keep everything in line, and I can do that with the movies, but I can't do that with the whole Star Wars universe.
And Lucas again, 2001, spoke about the expanded universe where he saw there was two different worlds. A Star Wars movie world, or his world, and then a different world for the books, novels, comic books, games, etc. Let's take a listen to what Lucas had to say about that.
There are two worlds here. There's my world, which is my movies, and there's other worlds that has been created, which I say is the parallel universe. The licensed world of books, games, and comic books. They don't intrude into my world, which is a selected period of time, but they do intrude in between the movies. I don't get too involved in that parallel universe.
Now let's go to 2005. I know we're skipping all around the dates here. I didn't really put this in order. Maybe I should have. In 2005, Lucas did an interview with Starlog magazine, where Starlog asked Lucas if he ever was confused by all the other material out there in Star Wars, from the novels, the offshoots, the comics, the games, and more. Does that confuse Lucas when he's working on his next Star Wars movie? This is what Lucas told Starlog.
I don't read that stuff. I haven't read any of the novels. I don't know anything about that world. That's a different world than my world, but I do try to keep it consistent. The way I do it now is they have a Star Wars encyclopedia. If I come up with a name or something else, I'll look it up and see if it's already been used. When I said other people could make their own Star Wars stories, we decided that, like Star Trek, we would have two universes, my universe and then this other one. They try to make their universe match mine as close as possible, but often go off into their own direction.
Now let's look at Leland Chee. Who is Leland Chee, you might add? Well, he ran the Holocron, the official Star Wars database, back before it was bought by Disney. After fans read Lucas's interview in Starlight magazine, Chee put his own spin on the George Lucas quote by saying the following.
George Lucas is certainly not bound to the extended universe, though he is certainly open to using things created within it. On the other hand, the quote you provided makes it sound like the expanded universe is separate from George Lucas's vision of the Star Wars universe. It's not. The EU must follow certain things set by George Lucas through the films and other guidelines that he provides to us outside of the films.
Now, mostly I'm looking at what George Lucas himself said about canon or the expanded universe, but let's look at Dave Foley. Did I just say Dave Foley? I'm talking Dave Filoni, not Dave Foley, although I would love to hear anything Dave Foley has to say about Star Wars. But let's talk about the other Dave, who, as you know, did a lot of work on the Clone Wars and worked really close with George Lucas. What was his take on canon or the expanded universe from what he experienced from working with Lucas? Well, here he is to tell you about working with George Lucas and what Lucas thought about canon.
For me, and my training here at Lucasfilm, working with George Lucas, he and I always thought the expanded universe was just that. It was an expanded universe. Basically, it's stories that are really fun and really exciting, but they're a view on Star Wars, not necessarily canon to George Lucas.
In May 2008, Lucas did an interview with Total Film magazine. He was asked there how much freedom does the other writers in Star Wars that do the novels and the games and more have when it comes to Star Wars. This is Lucas's thoughts on that.
They have their own kind of world. There are 3 pillars of Star Wars. I'll probably get in trouble for this, but it's okay. There's 3 pillars: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I'm the Father. Howard Ruffman, president of Lucas Licensing, is the Son, and the Holy Ghost is the fans. This is the kind of world of people coming up with all kinds of different ideas in history. Now, these 3 pillars don't always match, but the movie and TV shows are all under my control, and they all are consistent. Howard tries to be consistent, but sometimes he goes off on tangents, and it's hard to hold him back. He once said to me that there are 2 Star Trek universes. There's the TV, and then there's the spin-offs. He said that these were completely different and didn't have anything to do with each other. And I said, okay, go ahead. In the early days, I told them that they couldn't do anything about how Darth Vader was born. But otherwise, I was pretty much let them do whatever they wanted. They created this whole amazing universe that goes on for millions of years.
Now, that's some quotes we see from George Lucas about the expanding universe and canon. Now, I'm not looking at quotes from Lucasfilm employees or people working within Star Wars. I just wanted to focus this on George Lucas himself and not what the company as a whole thought. Did they agree with Lucas that the books and novels were seen as a different type of canon than the films? Well, maybe so. I haven't really dug into that. I just wanted to see what Lucas himself thought of the canon and the expanded universe. As for what Lucasfilms thought, I do know they broke down canon, at least before Disney bought it over, into different categories. There was G canon for George Lucas canon, T canon for television canon, C canon for continuity canon, continuity canon, hope I said that right, which included the books, the comic books, and more. Then there was S canon, secondary canon, which the older stuff fell under, such as the old classic Marvel Star Wars comic books. There was even D canon, which stood for Detours. The Star Wars ride had its own canon. And then there was E canon, which stood for not canon, which was mostly what-if stories. However, that tier system of canon was not used after Disney bought Lucasfilms. As for me, canon's canon. I don't believe you can do levels of canon. This is canon, but this is canon, but a higher level of canon. To me, that's not canon. Canon is canon. No if, and, or buts about it. But although I wouldn't mind if maybe Lucasfilm, now under Disney, said, hey, we have book canon, comic book canon, video game canon, movie canon, and they're all different and all shared. But for the most part, for me personally, if it's not on the film, it's not true official canon. It's kind of like this. The film is the historical record as we see it and hear it. The TV shows, the novels, the games, that all takes place within the Star Wars universe. The events happened, the events are canon, but how they happened or things people said, that's an interpretation of canon. Kind of like someone just retelling a story and they don't have all their facts straight. As for legends, I know that's a sore subject for many of you. For me, I can't see any way Disney could have carried on the saga films without making the now legend stuff not canon. But from looking at George Lucas's quotes to even George Lucas himself, that stuff wasn't canon anyway. It was already legends in a way, at least not hardcore canon that Lucas at any time couldn't change if he wanted to. But again, I can't see how Lucasfilms would have carried on with episodes 7 through 9 and the spin-off films without starting over with the canon that we have today. Most fans of Star Wars, I mean the casual fans, didn't know stuff like Luke being married, having kids. Sure, that probably would have been easy to keep in the story, but the main problem for me is Chewbacca was dead in the old canon, and you can't do that. You can't bring back Star Wars without Chewbacca, and you can't really explain 30 years of events to the new public that really only watched the film. To me, I don't see how Disney didn't have any choice but to restart the canon. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. As always, support this channel. Head over to patreon.com and buy some cool t-shirts at that junkman.com. And I'll be back very soon with another video.
Canon.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.